The old house loomed before him, dark and menacing. A shiver ran down Daniel's spine. He clutched the flashlight tighter, its beam a tiny beacon against the oppressive night. His friends had dared him to spend 10 minutes inside the abandoned house at the edge of town. Taking a deep breath, Daniel pushed open the creaking gate. The rusty hinges groaned like a mournful cry. Each step up the crumbling path felt heavier than the last. He reached the front door, its paint peeling like scabs on old wounds. The dare had seemed like a good idea back then. Now fear gnawed at his courage. He wanted to turn back, but had to go through with it. He pushed the door open. The air inside was heavy, thick with the scent of decay and dust. Silence pressed in, broken only by the frantic thumping of his own heart. He shone his flashlight around the foyer. Cobwebs draped everything like macabre decorations. He took a hesitant step inside, the floorboards groaning in protest. The flashlight beam danced across the dusty furniture, revealing glimpses of a life long gone. A tattered armchair sat by a cold fireplace. A grandfather clock stood frozen in time, its hands pointing accusingly at him. He swore he heard a whisper, soft and cold, brushing past his ear.
Get out while you still can.
He shook his head, trying to dismiss the voice as a trick of his imagination. His heart pounded in his chest, a frantic drum against the silence. He moved deeper into the house, his hand trembling as he held the flashlight. Each room was a mirror of the last, filled with decaying grandeur and an oppressive silence. Shadows stretched and danced in the corners of his vision. He entered what must have once been a grand dining room. A long, dust-covered table dominated the space. He felt a presence, unseen but palpable. He whipped around, shining his light into the darkness. There was nothing there. He stumbled upon a room at the end of a hallway. The door creaked open as if inviting him in. Unlike the other rooms, this one held a strange allure. The air felt different here, charged with an unseen energy. He stepped inside, his flashlight beam illuminating faded wallpaper and a dusty vanity table. A silver-backed hairbrush lay on the table, its bristles entwined with long white hair. On the wall hung a faded photograph in a tarnished silver frame. It showed a young woman with hauntingly sad eyes. She wore a long white dress that seemed to shimmer even in the faded photograph. He felt an odd connection to the woman, a sense of familiarity that he couldn't explain. As his fingers brushed against the glass, a voice whispered in his ear, cold and clear.
She couldn't leave, and neither can you.
The flashlight flickered and died, plunging him into absolute darkness. He fumbled for the switch, his breath coming in ragged gasps. The flashlight remained dead. He stumbled back, bumping into something cold and solid.
He cried out, his voice echoing eerily in the darkness.
Fear, raw and primal, pulsed through him. He ran blindly, desperately through the house. He had to escape the suffocating darkness, the oppressive silence that seemed to press in on him from all sides.
He tripped over something, falling hard on the wooden floor. Pain shot through his ankle, but he couldn't stop. He scrambled to his feet, his hands scraping against the rough floorboards.
He was lost in a labyrinth of hallways and rooms, each one identical to the last.
He thought he saw a flicker of light ahead. Hope surged through him.
As he got closer, he realized it wasn't a way out, it was a mirror. He stared at the mirror, his breath catching in his throat. For a moment, he saw nothing but his own terrified reflection. Then slowly a figure began to emerge from the darkness behind him.
It was the woman from the photograph. Her face was pale and drawn, her eyes filled with a deep, unending sadness. She reached out a hand towards him, her touch icy cold against his skin.
He tried to pull away, but it was too late. Her grip was like a vice, holding him fast. He opened his mouth to scream, but no sound came out.
The woman's face was inches from his, her breath cold and fetid on his cheek. He could see his own terror reflected in her eyes, his face a mask of fear.
"You are mine now," she whispered, her voice a hollow rasp. "You will never leave this house."
And in the depths of the mirror he saw his reflection change, his features blurred, his eyes taking on the same haunted look as the woman in white.
He was trapped, his fate sealed within the walls of the abandoned house. The whispers grew louder, consuming him.